Everybody in the club getting tipsy. Everybody in the club getting oh, my fault. I'm up here getting my St. Louis on. Everybody in the club getting tipsy. Whoa, how y'all doing, Logic folk? I had to take a little break, give me a little thing, something to drink, a little Kool-Aid, of course, to continue this section on categorical propositions. And I was listening to a little Jaquan, a little old school, Midwest style. That's how I get down. But we're going to keep moving here. But since we got Jaquan on the radio, we're going to go ahead and use that, right? So those of you in the class right now, go ahead and write down on your notebook, everybody in the club is getting tipsy. Everybody in the club is getting tipsy. Just write it. I'm serious. Write that line down. Everybody in the club is getting tipsy. Go on, write it down. Go ahead. Everybody. Don't put everybody, because everybody, then, y'all go to Wittenberg. That's everybody, right? And, a todo mundo, that kind of thing, but don't put everybody, that kind of stuff. We might get our accreditation messed up, stuff like that. But anyway, so if everybody in the club getting tipsy, I know right now, if I forced you by virtue of a test right now to translate that into a categorical proposition, all those who would say that is an I proposition, raise your hand. You better not have raised your hand. All right? You better have known it's an O proposition, right? I see two of y'all raised y'all hand and y'all gonna fail. Everybody in the club getting tipsy is an A proposition. Right? All those people, right, in the club, right? The categorical class of people are the people in the club, right? What's the proposition? What's the predicate? Getting tipsy, right? So everybody in the club getting tipsy is an A proposition. So keep that on your notebooks. Let's roll through the traditional square of opposition. Why is this important to me? I think, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. I say this all the time. Philosophers don't make the best friends. Philosophers don't make the best don't make the best relationship folk, right? We ain't got that many good friends, but we cool people until we get on your nerves, right? But part of the reason we get on your nerves is because 95% of y'all don't be making no sense, Joe. 95% of you. And for those of us who really kind of locked into this philosophy stuff, I try not to be. I try to go to Blink, hang out at the bingo halls. Shout out to my bingo halls, Valley Street, and the rest of them. Sorry you're going through this right now. I know you're losing money. But anyway, I digress. I try to do other stuff other than logic. But I'm telling you, the one thing that I love about logic is that I can sit back with my drink in my cup and just listen to you. Read your emails, listen to people talk, listen to Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and just watch people as they engage in conversation. And my mind immediately turns to creating the logical forms. What's the proposition used? And what's the necessary inference that can be raised from that? Immediate or immediate inferences. How then do I set claim then to their the foundation of their arguments, the premises, right? What's the relationship between the premises and the conclusion? We talked about that in the beginning, right? And so if in fact, here's the rub, if in fact I can listen to you on my telephone, and I already hear you made a flawed inference, then I know you may get to a conclusion that may be valid, but we already know there's a flaw in your argument, which there's no soundness coming out of your mouth, and now I'm looking at you kind of skeptical, right? Because you got to have truth everywhere you go, right? So what we want to do today is talk about what are the rules of inference. How can we really listen to people? How can we make inferences based on certain statements that make sense? And you don't have people like me looking at you like you're crazy. And I'm sorry, I got friends that look at me. I hate being around you like that. You always make me look stupid. I'm not trying to. Trust me, I'm not trying to. But my facial expressions get kind of ugly. I be like, what? You say, huh? And trust me, it's bad in like interpersonal relationships, girlfriends and like that. Trust me. Even my daughter, Daddy, I'm not one of your students. Yeah, man. But anyway, let's get to the word. Let's get to the piece, right? So, square of opposition, right? What are we saying? We go back to our A, I, and O, right? We know all A is all S is P, E is no S is P, I, some S is P, O, some S is not P, right? Based on the truth or falsity of those statements, we can then make certain inferences about other statements, right? Again, that's what this whole exercise we're about to do now does. I'm going to take you through the rules, take you through some of the, not a lot, but we ain't got that much time. You're online. We ain't doing too much stuff. We're going to do about 4 or 5 different rules of inferences, and then we're going to move forward. We ain't going to do a version. We may do conversion. I don't know. We're not going to do, so we're not going to do it. We're going to kind of keep it simple, get us through this spring semester, and get your grade and keep moving. All right, so what is it we're using? The A proposition. Everybody in the club getting tipsy, right? A proposition, right? So the A proposition on our square of opposition, right, is what we call a square of opposition. It's the traditional square of opposition, but it's the square of opposition. And so the A proposition exists here, right? Everybody in the club getting tipsy exists here. So that means nobody in the club getting tipsy exists here. Some people in the club getting tipsy exist here. Some people in the club is not tipsy exist here, right? This is a relationship between on the club. On the square, right? Now, there are certain definitions that I want to give you that's related to the relationships on the square, right? So, contradiction, right? A contradictory statement is a statement in which its contradictory statement cannot be the same truth value. So if everybody in the club is getting tipsy, and that's a true statement, then it's a contradictory statement that there are some people who aren't getting tipsy, right? So I can't say there are some people who are not getting tipsy and then say everybody in the club getting tipsy. And trust me, if you got friends like I do, they'll switch that up on you in a minute. And then you look at them like they're crazy. Then they look at you like you're crazy. Well, you knew what I meant. No, well, you shouldn't have said everybody, right? Because now I'm going to try to find a case or a category in which it disputes that, and they both can't be true. And now I look at you like you're crazy, right? So again, contradictory statements. If nobody in the club is getting tipsy, then the statement that some people in the club getting tipsy is a contradictory statement, right? So contradiction means that they cannot have the same truth value. If the A is true, the O has to be false. If the E is true, the I has to be false. If the I is true, the E has to be false. If the O is true, the A has to be false, right? They're contradictory relationships, right? Contradictions, right? Now, in logic, there's a distinction between a contradiction and a contrary, right? Now, most people in common conversation, you'll have people say, well, on the contrary, right? Or you're contradicting yourself. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not, right? But right now you got to find out if actually I am, or if you're interspersing these definitions. A contrary statement. A contrary statement is a statement that there are two statements in which both of them they both can't be true, right? So two statements in which they both cannot be true, right? That's a contrary statement, right? Which we kind of said that already here. But the difference between here and here is that a contrary statement, they both can be false though, right? They both cannot be true, but they both can be false. What do I mean? Contraries exist on my square on the top of my square, contrary statements. So go ahead and write the square down in your notebook, right? Got the square, contradictions, A to O, E to I, contrary statements, A to E, E to A. Right? So a contrary statement means that if everybody in the club getting tipsy, and that's a true statement, if everybody is, then the statement that nobody in the club is getting tipsy has to be a false statement, right? Because they both cannot be true at the same time. But if everybody in the club is getting tipsy is a false statement, right? it could be also false that nobody is. Right? Again, if everybody gets in the club getting tipsy, man, that ain't true. Everybody in the club ain't getting tipsy. Okay, then, with nobody in the club getting tipsy. Well, I ain't say that either. Right? They both could be false. Why? Because some could. Right? This is how the logical mind works. If you can get, man, take it from me. If you can get this, if you study this while you're on break, well, I lie to you not. The rest of your life will be, it may get frustrating to your friends, but your mind will operate at a level in which probably 80% of the country does not operate on. Right? And not saying that's a good thing. Trust me, it's not a good thing. You'll lose a lot of friends. You'll lose a few relationships. Right? Because people would like to commune with each other, and if 80% of the country is talking crazy, they want you to talk crazy with them. If 80% of the country, well, you know what I mean, well, then you got to just act like you know what they mean and go out on a date. I mean, sometimes you just got to go out on a date. Sometimes, I mean, let's just be real about it. You know, well, I can't get into that. But I'm not saying you got to dumb it down, but sometimes you got to dumb it down because you got to be in communication. You cannot have coronavirus for the rest of your life. Right? You cannot be in isolation quarantine intellectually, socially, the rest of your life. You got to commune. That's what Maslow say. Right? You got to. I digress. Let's move forward. Contraries. Cannot both be true. Everybody in the club getting tipsy. Nobody in the club getting tipsy. They cannot both be true at the same time. But it could be false that everybody getting club getting tipsy, and false that nobody in the club getting tipsy. But we just don't know. Right? We don't know. Because it could be false or it could be true. So we call this relationship, only thing we know that the A and E cannot both be true. We don't know if this is false, if that's false or not. Right? I'll tell you, we call that in a minute. Subcontrary. If this is contrary, sub is on the bottom, right? Right? If this is contrary, sub is contrary is on the bottom. So the subcontrary relationship is the I's, the O's. Right? So I's, the O's are a little bit different, right? Because I and O can't both be false. It can't be false that some people in the club getting tipsy. And that's a false statement. Some people in the club getting tipsy. That ain't true. Well, if it ain't true that some people are getting tipsy, right? If that ain't true, then that means that this is true and nobody is. Right? So if this is true, then that means that somebody can't be false. Right? That gotta be true. Right? I know I just confused about 3 of you. So let's get back to, let's not add anything else to your 2 yet. Subcontraries, the I to the O. They both can't be false. Hey, 1 to the 2 to the 3 to the 4. The I to the O. Hey, here we go. Everybody in the, sorry. So I to the O. Right? They both cannot be false. Some people in the club getting tipsy. That's not true, Dr. Bailey. Some people in the club is not getting tipsy. Okay, well then that can't be false either then, because you just said some people ain't. Right? That can't be false. I'm sorry, that can't be false either. Right? So they both cannot be false at the same time. But they both can be true at the same time. It can be true that some people are and some people ain't. Right? It can be true that some people are and some people ain't. Right? We kind of know that, right? Let's give you one more, the subalternate position, right? Subalternation. Right, to the subalternate position, right? That means the truth of the superaltern infers the truth of the subaltern. Right? Explain that here in a minute. And it also means the falsity of the subaltern infers the falsity of the superaltern. Jesus. Right? What does that mean? The truth of the A infers the truth of the I. The truth of the E infers the truth of the O. If everybody in the club is getting tipsy, that means that some people in the club is getting tipsy. If nobody in the club is getting tipsy, that means that some people in the club ain't getting tipsy, right? So the truth of the A proposition, if somebody says everybody in the club getting tipsy, then I already know if John say out at the club, then I know John is a sum, right? John is a subaltern. He isn't a superaltern, super everybody. John is a subaltern. So if John say out at the club, then I can conclude that John, you must be tipsy because the truth of the A infers the truth of the I. If nobody in the club getting tipsy, then the truth of the E infers the truth of the O. Right? This is why, on a different level, and I know people watching is going to get mad, but I mean, this is the truth. This is why when the subaltern, shout out to Spivak, when the subaltern is speaking, Black Lives Matter, right? And then the superaltern wants to say, oh no, all lives matter. Well, the subaltern is saying that ain't necessarily true. But if I can get you to affirm that all lives matter, then I have to affirm that your black life matters. But if black life is saying, I'm down here not mattering, then this can't be true. Right? So some lives ain't mattering. Right? And that's a false statement. Right? And it can't be true that all lives matter. That's what we mean here. The falsity of the subaltern infers the falsity of the superaltern. Right? Truth of the superaltern infers the truth of the subaltern, but the falsity of the subaltern infers the falsity of the truth from the falsity of the superaltern. Another way of looking at it, truth falls down, right? Falsity flows up. Right? Truth falls down, falsity flows up. The truth of the A infers the truth of the I. So truth falls down. All right? If this is true, that has to be true. If this is true, that has to be true. But falsity flows up. If this is false, this has to be false. If this is false, this has to be false. Right? So if some people are not, is a false statement, then everybody is not, or nobody is also a false statement. If some people is a false statement, then everybody has to be a false statement. But if everybody is a true statement, then some people is a true statement. If nobody is a true statement, then somebody is not is also a true statement. So this is the only thing we can infer from the statements, guys. Right? So in your work, it's going to ask you, if you knew the truth of a certain proposition, what can you infer about other propositions? Well, only thing I know, if the A is true, I know the O has to be false because it's contradiction. If the A is true, I know the E has to be false because they can't both be true at the same time. If the A is true, I know the I has to be true because truth falls down. That's what I know. Anything else, I don't know. It could be true, it could be false, or it could be undetermined. If we don't know, we call it undetermined. If we do know, in this case, if this is true, we know that's false. Right? But if I is true, we don't know if that's true or false. Right? If some people are, that doesn't necessarily mean that some people ain't. Why? Because all could be. Could be, we just don't know. Truth don't flow up. We don't know this to be the case. Right? It might be. So if the I is true, the A is undetermined. We don't know. If the I is true, the O is undetermined. We just don't know. Could be, it could not be. We know they both can't be false, but we don't know if one is true. All right? Recap, and let's do a little work. So again, we start off with me being silly. Excuse me, getting me a little drink. We start off with a conversation on inference. Excuse me. So, we create what we call the square of opposition. Recognize the A, the E, the I, and the O goes in its respective places. We then know that all the A is all S is P, the E is in no S is P, the I, the some S is P, the O is some S is not P. I then told you some definitions that you need to know. Contradiction, contraries, subcontraries, and alternative or subalternate relationships. The superaltern, subaltern. Contrary relationships, subcontrary relationships. Contradictories, contradictories. Okay. A contradiction, A to O, O to A, I to E, E to I. They cannot have the same truth value. Whatever one value is, its contradictory statement has to be the other. A contrary statement, A to E, E to A, they just both can't be true. If E is true, A has to be false. If A is true, E has to be false. They both can't be true. So if one is true, the other has to be false. Right? They could both be true, they could both be false, but we don't know that. So we call this relationship, if this is false, we just don't know. It's undetermined. Right? Only thing we know is that true, false. We also know in contraries, if I is true, we don't know what O is. Right? They could both be true. Some is, some is not. But it could be that all is. We haven't established that. So the I to O, if the I is true or the O is true, its subcontrary relationship is unknown. Undetermined. But if the I is false, we know that it has to be true. If the O is false, we know that it has to be true. Right? Then, our subaltern relationship, if the superaltern is true, the subaltern has to be true. Why? Because truth falls down. If the superaltern is true, the subaltern has to be true. Why? Because truth falls down. If the subaltern is true, we don't know about the superaltern. Could be, might not be. So the subaltern is true, its superaltern is undetermined. But if the subaltern is false, falsity flows upward. So since falsity flows upward, right? If the I is false, the A is false. If the O is false, the E is false. All right? Y'all got me? Take a minute, write that down. Do a little bit on the board, and we can wrap this section up. Traditional square of opposition. I'm telling you, I promise you, as much as the day is born, if you can get this locked down, all your GREs, all your LSATs, all your professional development, everything goes a little bit easier. All right? Goes a little bit easier. All right, you got this? Let's do a few exercises and we'll lock this down. All right. So, here's my square. A, E, I, O. A to E is contrary relationships. I to O is subcontrary relationships. A to O, O to A is contradictory relationships. I to E, E to I are contradictory relationships. E to O or O to E are subcontrary relationships. A to I to A are subaltern relationships. And then A to I and I to A are subaltern relationships. So let's try it. So we just did this, but let's, again, going back to our rules. If the A is true, I'm going to ask you, what do we know about the E, the I, and the O? So if the A is true, we know that E has to be what? In your spirit, you should have said false. Right? E has to be false. Why? Because they're contraries, and contraries cannot both be true at the same time. Right? So if the A is true, the E has to be false. If the A is true, the I, truth what? Falls down. A is true, the I is true. You got it. If the A is true, the O is what? These are contradictory relationships. So rule of contradictory says what? If the A is true, the O has to be false. You're right. Right. What about if the A is false? Right. What if the A is false? Well, if the A is false, what does it mean about the E? If it's false that everybody in the club is getting tipsy, does that mean that it's false? That nobody in the club is getting tipsy? No. That don't mean that. Does it mean it's true that nobody in the club is getting tipsy? Maybe. I don't know. All I know is it's not true that everybody's getting tipsy. So if it's not true that everybody's getting tipsy, then I don't know if no people are, or some people are and some people ain't. So if the A is false, the E is undetermined. What about the A to the I? If the A is false, what about the I? If everybody in the club is getting tipsy, that's a false statement. Then obviously some people in the club getting tipsy. How is that obvious? What are you talking about? Well, everybody ain't. Okay, everybody ain't. Well, some people are. No, you can't make that inference. Why? Because maybe ain't nobody getting tipsy. Maybe it's a dry club. They lost a liquor license. Maybe it's a teen club. Right? Who knows? Maybe I'm in love with the bartender like Toupain, and I'm keeping her attention, and y'all can't get a drink. Then everybody ain't getting tipsy. So if the A is true, the I is if the A is false, then everybody hate. I don't know if some is or some not. The I is undetermined. Yo, if the A is false, the O is what? Opposite value, right? Has to be true. Right? Let's try the E. I'm going to let you do I and O on your own. You got your homework assignments that you can knock out at the same time. Let's try the E. If the E is true. If the E is true, it's contrary. The A has to be what? False. You're right. Why? Because contrary relationships cannot both be true at the same time. Right? If the E is true, what about the I? If the E is true, what about the I? Well, E and I are contradictions. So if the E and I are contradictions, then if the E is true, the I has to be false. And if the E is true, truth falls what? Down. And the O has to be true. So if it's true that nobody in the club getting tipsy, And it's also true that some people ain't. Right? Let's try one more, then you can do the other ones by yourself. E is false. So if E is false, right, what does that make the A, the I, and the O? Well, the E is false. Nobody in the club is getting tipsy. That ain't true. Okay. So that means everybody in the club getting tipsy? Yeah. Because some people getting tipsy and some ain't? Yeah. Well, then we don't know, do we? So the only thing we know that it's false, that ain't nobody getting tipsy? If we know that's a false thing, right? Then we don't know if it's everybody or some. So if E is false, that makes A undetermined. If E is false, this contradiction is true. If E is false, falsity does not flow down, right? So the O is undetermined. Okay? So, this is the rule of inference. These are some of the rules of inference. There's others, but for the sake of this quarantine laden class, we're going to just stick with these: the contradictory relationships, subcontrary relationships, contrary relationships, and the alternative relationships. All right? Trust me, if you get this down, want to do extra reading your book, read about upversion, read about conversion, right? Read about that kind of stuff, read about contraposition, right? Because if you're going to take GRE, stuff like that, you need to know stuff like that. You can holler at me about that. We can do that on our own. But for the sake of your quizzing, your test, this is all you need for right now. All right? That's it. Hey, everybody, sorry. Take care. Stay strong.